I have an idea. But why can't I remote mount a vacuum booster the exact same way? We'll learn together why we can't do that, or why we in fact can do that. Welcome back to Pump the Brakes, you excellent YouTube content connoisseurs. Today we are going to tackle a small job on Hyde, so it should be a quick video. I'm gonna do some experimenting, and I'm gonna bring you along with me, and together we'll find out if I'm smart or not. Wow, what a mess in here this is. But it's not always like this. This is just nonsense. So right now, the rear steer is not working. We won't even work on that today. It's just the D03 valve that's messed up. What's more important today is my hydroboost. I have been going through steering pumps in Hyde. There are no words for it. It is friggin' awful. My steering pumps actually function just fine, but they get noisy. So anyway, okay, let's do a little history lesson here to start out. When Hyde was first built, Hyde didn't have rear steer. Hyde had Rockwell axles, not Unimog axles. So it had pinion brakes, and pinion brakes are phenomenal. They require no booster, none of that nonsense. So I just had manual brakes, like a dual master cylinder pedal with a balance bar, and that took care of everything. Actually, I'll show you. Come on over. See? That's visible. Brake pedal. I had the longest brake pedal that Willwood made, and then it has a balance bar. And I couldn't run a booster here because instead of a booster, I chose a turbocharger. And I feel like this kind of boost is much more fun than that kind of boost, because brakes are for quitters anyway. Yeah, it's pretty packed in there. See, there's two masters down there still. So those master cylinders now are just teed together, and they run one line all the way through the belly up to that right there. That is a clutch slave cylinder. It is actually the very same clutch slave cylinder I use right there. And my thought behind that was that I only need to carry one slave cylinder. That feeds into this, which is just a hydroboost unit from like any 1-ton Chevy. And then this Willwood master cylinder that now takes the two brake lines, one for the front, one for the rear. Well, one for the front, one for the rear. I don't even know. They go where they go. That was an issue to make this all work, hence the flow valve. So the flow valve has a pressure relief valve in it. So I was actually running a different pressure for my hydroboost than I was for my steering. And then look at this nonsense of hydraulic lines, right? So high pressure lines, front to rear, two return lines, because you have to have like your little leak off line plus your actual return line. Then the freaking flow valve, it was just mayhem. And I think it was taking out pumps. So I have officially bypassed all of that. I have an idea. I don't know why this hasn't been done. I don't know if somebody knows more than me. But why can't I remote mount a vacuum booster the exact same way? We'll learn together why we can't do that, or why we in fact can do that. So my plan now is to remove all of that nonsense, poopy pants, and install this nonsense in its place. Can't be that hard. Come on. Oh boy. Come on, what is going on? This is freaking awful. Oh, you bitch.
Oh, Sandra. You dumb bitch.
Really? Oh, what a stupid situation. Ugh, that's bright. Ooh. So, what a stupid problem to be having, but see these studs? So these studs right here are a left-hand thread into the booster, and then a normal thread here. But what happens is as you're backing this off, if this nut gets too tight on the stud, it actually backs the stud right out. So now I have to grab a wrench to hold that while I spin the nut. Pretty cool, right? Thanks, guys. Oh, come on. It's not spinning. Jesus. Oh, I'm gonna come unglued on this thing. Now the stud's completely out. And the nut's almost completely off. Man, I've had this thing out a bunch of times and it's never been an issue. Why is it an issue today? Oopsie. That was the goal of that. Okay. Hydraulic lines. And then a big ass nut right there.
Don't touch your asshole!
Don't touch your asshole.
An ass nut? This is gonna make a mess, but I really don't care because it's already made a mess underneath here. My thought is to repurpose this hose, this 6AN vacuum hose, from the engine to the new booster. Impact it. Nope, that didn't work. All right. 18 mil. What's that one? It's a 3/4. Is that close enough? Sure is. Got it. Sometimes the tool that is in your hand is the best tool. The joke is in your hands. Right, not a bathroom stall. So, whoop. Yeah, it doesn't get that tight. Nope, not super tight. That's out now. Think I'm gonna have to cut this crap off. Hopefully I can save this little gusset right there. This gusset was so that there was not too much deflection on this thing because there's quite a bit of force acting on this. So, and then I gotta see if the booster actually fits in here. Otherwise I might have to make the whole bracket again that can move this thing slightly that way if it doesn't clear this tube. All right, time to build the booster bracket. So unfortunately, whoever installed this bracket,
That guy!
it was me, really welded the crap out of it. Now, it is welded a little bit in here, but completely under here and a little bit up there. Nothing around there, so cut a weld there, and then I gotta frickin' zip all the way up. Yeah, all the way up there without hitting any of this important crap. That's important, so I wanna cut that. I think, yeah, that's my antenna. This doesn't fit anywhere else.
That's what she said!
Dang it. I have to pull the other seat out. Dang it. Yeah. That isn't gonna help me up there. But I need to pull the other seat. And now, with less seats. Oh, it's welded on the inside too. Dang it. Dang it. Oh man. I cut a lot of it. I'm gonna see if a hammer will finish that off. I could have cut more of that. No, I couldn't actually. I should have cut more than that, but I physically couldn't. So I did what I could. What I do have here is a bracket I cut off. See that? That's funny. I did the JK backwards in there because I thought you'd be able to see it from the back, not realizing there's a fuel tank right there. Also, that's a fuel tank right there that I weld and grind next to. I'm out of breath. Old. Okay, so I did a quick test fit, and I think this tab, which is like a zip tie tab to zip tie things too. I think that has to go, but otherwise I think it's just build a bracket, burn it in. So that's neat. This is the idea, right? Something like that, and like it's fitting except for that tab. I think, yeah, I think I'm doing just dandy. So I'm gonna lose that tab right now, and then we'll design a bracket. Man, this is going fantastic. Oh yeah, that'll just like fit right in there. I don't know if it'll work. This is going easier than I thought. Don't let the fact that I'm out of breath fool you. This is quite easy. So I'm gonna grind this up so it's ready to be finished, and then we'll design a bracket. Down. Reinforced confidence. I guess that one stud is going to be a slight issue. How does this thing come up? No one knows. That's going to be an issue too, because I'm going to have to modify that. So maybe I should have thought of that before I went this far, because now I have no brakes. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I always wear safety glasses. Because I am a baby and I hate shit in my eyes. But also because I don't really understand this weird, like, machismo thing around not using safety equipment. My face is dirty now. Yes, they were fogging up pretty bad on me. That being said, I also like guards on my grinders. Are you one of those people that like your masculinity is based upon the fact that you don't leave a guard on your grinder? I used to be that guy, and I had a bit of an incident that landed me in the hospital. I'll show you the rated G version. I was using the wrong side of the disc. You know, there's like the side that shoots sparks at you, but when the grinder catches, it shoots the grinder away from you. And then there's a side of the disc where it shoots sparks away from you, but if the grinder hooks, it shoots the grinder into you. Well, I don't know if that shows up. It shot the grinder into me. It cut my arm open really good. I don't think YouTube will let me put the good version of that on there, so that's why you'll always see me using a grinder with a guard. So I measured the center line of that slave cylinder off of the tube that it's all mounted to, and it looks to be about 3 3/4 of an inch. So I then measured the brake booster, which is about 7-inch diameter at the widest point right here. So that means I have a 1/4 inch, no, it means I have an 1/8 of an inch to spare, which is more than enough in my books. Honestly, even if it was a little contacty, I'd probably still live with it. But I don't have to worry about that. So I also cut this off because I dug in there and it looks like to get this push rod removed, I would have to disassemble this thing. That ain't happening. So the next step for me is to draw this pattern here up in CAD. I'm going to cut it out of 1/4 or 3/16 on the table, probably 1/4. And then that'll give me everything I need to weld the bracket to mount this. And then I will make a push rod by just welding this carefully while it's still all assembled. All right, what do you think? That's the little bracket I made. I mean, I wouldn't call it beautiful, but it gets the job done. Something to note, that mounting flange is not perpendicular to the push rod. That kind of makes sense because they are mounted on a firewall like that, which then the master cylinder levels out. I don't think my master cylinder is like that. No, my master cylinder is very much perpendicular. So I'm gonna level out that push rod by mounting this thing a wee bit crooked. I'll figure it out, but it all looks right. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack that thing in right meow.
Do I look like a cat to you, boy?
And then we're almost there. I even found some nuts in the bins. So, I mean, this is probably gonna be ready for a test in the next few minutes. Something to think about that's commonly overlooked is when you're welding on a vehicle that has an ECM, like a computer to run the engine, fuel injection, you should disconnect your battery. Good placement of your grounding clamp when welding will alleviate like any chances of voltage going where it's not supposed to, like through a module, but we're not perfect. So I have a battery switch. But the ECM, my Holley, is wired directly to the battery because that's what Holley mandates. So I actually unplug that when I'm welding on Hyde. I don't know if I need to, but it's something I always do. All right, two things. First thing, this nut is contacting this plate. It actually fits just fine, but I will not be able to get that nut off. I won't be able to get a tool on it. So I'm gonna knock the bottom of that plate off. Second thing, this angle that I designed here, and I just pulled this angle out of thin air, it eats me up inside because there's an air gap here. Let me show you. Yeah, let me show you. I'm pointing it at nothing. Like that. See that gap? It means nothing because there's still a weld area there and there's still a weld area there. But God, it pisses me off. So I'm gonna recut this bracket. How's the booster look or the master look on there? This way. Uh-oh. Oh yeah, she fits. Ooh, what a beautiful fit, actually. I'm gonna tack this on and then I'm gonna show you how great that looks. Just a tack there, tack there. There is going to be a bit of a gap down there because, like I said, this thing is mounted at an angle compared to what the old one was. But if you notice, I filled that gap from this side, so when I that full, it'll look fantastic. I don't want to burn it with the booster installed, so I'm going to pull this off, then I'll fully weld that. I'll probably hit it with a can of black. Look how good that looks. Look at that clearance right there, guys. Looks like this was meant to be. That master's tight, tidy. Should have a couple nuts for that. Man, I'm pumped on this. If it works. All right, and just like that, the bracket is burned in. There's a little weld there. That's where I nicked the frame cutting the old bracket off. I suppose I could have taken the time to dress that out, but I didn't. Welded in. I only have one nut on there, but it's solid. I mean, it doesn't look solid, but I'm sure it's solid enough. I'm medium confident that that's solid. I can always add steel, don't worry guys. The next step is I need to build a push rod that goes from here. This is the push rod that goes inside there. I hope it's not too short. Kind of looks too short, doesn't it? Luckily it's just a hunk of steel and I can make another one. So what I need to do is I'm gonna measure the distance from here to where I cut it, which I can do now. One-handed. To me, that looks like 1 3/16. Anywhere the glare doesn't kill it. Anyway, it's 1 3/16. You're gonna have to take my word for it. Then next, I'm gonna take the booster off. I'm gonna bury the push rod as far as I can in there.
That's what she said.
That's my...
So when the piston is bottomed out, and then I'm gonna give it a little bit. So a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch less than that, so that when it's fully bottomed out, there is still enough in there. Because I wanna make sure that when I bolt the booster on, that the push rod isn't bottoming out in there and pre-loading the booster and in turn applying the master slightly, because then the master might not hit the compensation port and take up the fluid, and then it might hang the brakes on. So it's important that there is just a little bit of free play in there. So 1 3/16, I'm gonna bury this. I'm gonna make this thing like 1 1/8, 1 1/16 sticking out. And then I'm gonna burn that to that on the bench, and that's that. Easy. Whoa, I'm looking haywire now. All right, I've got the fabrication side of things done, and I verified that the brake pedal still works. So, I don't know if this is any kind of surprise, but same old clutch slave cylinder acting as a remote. It's a slave cylinder. It's like a remote brake pedal. So this acts just like a brake pedal, but it's hydraulically actuated from that brake pedal. It pushes on this custom push rod that I made that seems to be dialed in length. It applies this booster to the master cylinder down to my 2 axles. This is exactly where we started the day, right? Because this is a hydraulic booster that wasn't hooked up, and now it's a vacuum booster that's not hooked up. And if you look, it does its thing. Brake pedal feels great. So the next thing to do is to get vacuum to here from the engine. My plan was to repurpose this guy. This is one of the return lines from the old hydroboost. So I don't know how to get that on there, like to make that work. I guess I could maybe like epoxy an AN fitting onto that. That was one thought. I also went and grabbed some of this line that I have in stock, and I honestly think with a little bit of lube, I could just get that thing on there. I'm a little nervous to break this thing off, but I think I can do that. Like that's almost there already, and I barely tried. Like specifically this hose right here, cut the end off, heat shrink it, and then at the other end, I need to relocate it from, obviously, it doesn't do anything now, but I need to hook it up to my intake manifold. So I have like a remote boost vacuum distribution block dealie, and it's connected with a 6 AN hose down to my intake manifold. So my plan is just to put like a T in there and then tap into that to come back here. I'm really hoping this works. Really wasn't that much work or that much money. This thing I got off of Amazon because it was an open box for like 58 bucks. So like, can't really beat that. Well, I did a little bit of half-assing, and I got, I don't know if you can see, I harvested this line. It's obviously not in its final location, but I harvested that steering return line, that hydraulic return line. I do have it keyed in to my vacuum, my intake manifold, like I want it. It's gonna get routed nicer than that. And I did shove it onto that check valve, and it actually does seem pretty good. The purpose of all this is that I get to test it now. So, let's fire this bitch up. We're not gonna take it for a drive just yet, because, well, reasons. But we should be able to notice if the brake pedal gets softer. Okay, I'm climbing into the lack of a seat. That's fine. All right, I'm in. We're going to, so if I pump up the brakes.
Here I come. Oh,
Brake pedal is firm, right? Pumped up hard. And then a way to check if a booster's working is when you fire up your engine, the brake pedal should sink a little bit because the assist is coming in. So, neutral. Let's see, maybe I can watch it like this. I've never tried this yet. This is real stuff, guys. Remember earlier when I unplugged my Holley ECM because I was welding? Never plugged it back in. Ugh. It's messy here. Come on. Did I go in? Yeah, that's it. Okay. Telling you, this is real stuff. Still in neutral. Oh, do you see that? That was real life. I think that's got power brakes. I mean, there's no way to know unless I go for a drive. Let's do that test again. No cuts. Okay, pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Pressing as hard as I can, well, as hard as I can, but pretty fucking hard. Oh, that is real life. I'm gonna call that a success. We'll take it for a drive and we'll see if it's really a success, but I'm pretty proud of that. As a bonus, one thing that I'd never really like is hydraulic lines inside the passenger compartment, right? And I had a bunch of them right here. Like there was hydraulic lines everywhere. There was actually Insanity Fab, I don't know what year, probably 3 years ago-ish. We raced into Insanity Fab and I bumped that return line. Actually, it was this hose right here. I bumped it with my elbow, I knocked it loose, and it sprayed steering fluid all over us, mostly on Adrian. Yeah, I remember that now. It happened one other time in the forest too. Not a fun time. So, one less thing. This thing can't leak anything but vacuum. What'll it do? Make my engine run kind of crappy. I'm pretty excited about this. I'm excited to test it. Yeah, boy. Look at the disaster of a mess underneath Hyde right now. Thank God I am done making that mess. So the next step is going to be put the thing back together and let's take it for a drive. I want to see what those brakes feel like. Even if they aren't great, to be honest, this is going to sound like I'm like setting myself up for excusing failure, but I drove it for a while with no power brakes with these MOG axles, but it was snow wheeling, and you don't need good brakes in the snow because it's like a boat. Boats don't have brakes. You don't use brakes in a boat. I mean, I guess you can slam it in reverse, but you usually don't when you're cruising because you don't need to. The water just slows you down so fast. That's what snow does. You don't even notice that you have shitty brakes in the snow. It was because of racing that I really needed to upgrade the brakes when I did the hydroboost. So I'm already accepting failure, but there's a good chance I have success. Okay, well, I got the brake booster install all tidied up. I ran the line from the front to the back for the booster, cleaned it all up, made it nice. Basically, that means I put zip ties on it. You can see it right here between the seats, which actually feels a lot better to have a vacuum booster there than the hydro boost. I don't really like hydraulic lines in the cab with me, but it happens. So yeah, in the end, you guys saw how I did the bracket. The master cylinder went right back where it was. The slave cylinder stayed exactly how it was. So nothing really changed there. There's nothing to it but to actually take it for a little drive and see if it is better. So unfortunately, the steering pump is still loud as shit.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
That's probably just gonna have to get replaced now. I'm really hoping eliminating the hydro boost stops me from going through steering pumps so fast. But, guess we just gotta hit the brakes and see. Well, they didn't lock up. So they don't lock up. They do feel better than having just manual brakes, which I was prepared to just live with. They feel maybe comparable to hydro boost, which is hard to say for sure, because I was driving with hydro boost and 54s. So that's a big difference. Let's try it on a hill and see if it holds the hill all right. My rear steer just stopped working. That's dumb. And without my lockers in, I'm just spinning out on this hill. So, turn on my air. I'm gonna have lockers now. That's gonna make me drive off this, I hope. 'Cause that looks stupid right now. Hyde is pretty fucking stupid with 37-inch tires. That was with both diffs locked in 4th gear low range. It was spinning all 4 tires on pavement. That's stupid. I love this engine. All right, I'm calling that a success. Thanks for checking us out here on Pump the Brakes. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe, hit the like, leave a comment telling how great of a job Adrian did on all the editing, and then while you're at it, maybe watch one of these two. Thanks for checking us out. Bye.